Good afternoon. You're listening to Gambling with an Edge. Now here are your hosts, Bob Dancer and Richard Munchkin.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Today we are celebrating the 25th annual Blackjack Ball, which has been hosted for surprisingly 25 years by Max Rubin, who is here. And the winner of the blackjack competition, the world's greatest blackjack player, has also been a guest on this show before, Darryl Purpose, who Richard knows rather well. So Max and Darryl, welcome to Gambling with an Edge.
Hey, thanks. Good to be here again.
Thanks for having us.
All right, Max, starting with you. This was a very different blackjack ball from the first ones. In what way was that?
Well, the first one was 32 players in my basement at my house, and we had all kinds of competitions down there, and it was pretty raucous affair. And they continued to grow through the years at my house till we got about 70 people, and I kind of outgrew the ball at my house, so we moved to another place where we could have a party for 110 to 120 people, and that's been going on. That went on for another, 18 years, and we got bigger and bigger, and we were having the silver anniversary Blackjack Ball, and in conjunction with that, we have put together a charitable foundation, charitable company, 501c3, and we needed a bigger venue, and we picked the biggest and nicest venue that would hold the amount of people we needed in Las Vegas, and we had it there. And people paid to come for the first time, an actual entry fee to get in the door, and it was $250 a seat. They came in, and they came from Australia, England, all over the United States, from hurricane-torn Florida, you name it, they came. And it turned out to be a spectacular event, and we just had a terrific time at the place. We were there for 7 hours and had gourmet food, people dressed up in tuxedos, and women just turned out to the nines. And it was a completely different event than what we've had in the past.
We should mention that this whole 501c3, well, first of all, the idea was originally floated by Blair Hull, and Blair raised the idea with us, and we all thought it was a great idea, and he really spearheaded it and offered to pay for it himself to get it done, which he did. And the idea behind it was that the people who come to the ball have all benefited so much in their lives from gambling that we wanted to give something back, and we thought that the people we should try to give back to are the people who are really damaged by gambling. So, each year we will partner with a charity of some sort toward that end. And this year it is a new center at UNLV for the study of, Max, do you remember the name of the actual center?
Center of Gambling Studies and Health.
And Health, right.
And Health, yes it is. And it's, so it's the UNLV Center of Gambling Studies and Health is the group that we provided the money to, the profits.
And or we will be. We haven't done the final accounting yet, but that's
how we're going to say that. But those are the recipients of the profits we made.
Yeah. And we don't know what the total is yet, but it will be a minimum of $25,000.
Right. Do we address the fact that we also we sold tables and all that sort of thing? Does that matter? Tables were sold for $10,000 a piece, and we sold a number of tables and had other donations, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the $250 a head would not have covered the cost of the place. So
didn't cover the cost of dinner. Right.
The what?
Well, it did cover the cost of dinner.
No, it didn't. Didn't cover the cost of the Ruvo Center at all. Not even close. We were in about $325, $340 per person there because we had to rent the center. That cost us $8,500. We had to pay for the audio visual. That was close to $6,000. That was right off the top. The dinner itself was $135 a person. The drinks were another $10 an hour per person for 7 hours. So it added up quickly. But it's a part of that money goes to the Keep Memory Alive Foundation, and that goes to people that need help for their brain afflictions, which the Cleveland Clinic Keep Memory Alive Hospital down there, the Ruvo Center, that's what they do. And a number of people that were at the ball have actually been regular customers with them too. I won't mention any other names, but I've been down there before and been tested for a variety of things. And they're just terrific what they do. So they made money off of it, but they should. That's what the center's there for.
So this time, the questions, instead of just being read, were displayed. There were audio-visual there was much more professionally done than we've seen in the past. And Richard was a huge part of this. I suspect without Richard's input, Max, you could not have done this.
Correct.
So,
Richard, not much, because Munchkin did a lot of the heavy lifting, making sure all of this stuff got taken care of.
Yeah, I said several times, I said, anything I can do, let me know. He goes, yeah, I'll let you know, I'll let you know, I'll let you know. But he never let me know. So,
the problem is, like on that subject, Blair said to us, like, you guys shouldn't be busting your ass doing this stuff. We should hire people to do it. But the problem is, you couldn't hire people to do this stuff because they wouldn't have a clue. Like, other than, I guess the one thing they could do would be to send out the emails and get the responses. But the rest of it, they wouldn't know how to set up the questions for the contest or a Calcutta auction or design the games for the final table. It's very hard to delegate any of that stuff off.
Yeah, it would take longer and be harder to tell somebody else what to do than to just roll up our sleeves and do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So we mentioned Blair Hall. He was given a special award at this shindig. What was that?
Munchkin, you want me to do it?
Yeah, you go ahead, Max.
This was a special award given for all the work he had done, the tireless energy that he put into this and the money he put behind it and forming our 501c3. Plus, he had been a force in gambling in his youth. He had played with the original Al Francesco teams as one of the original big players, or BPs. He'd been playing a bit prior to that, and then he went on and played computers and had teams and did very, very well. Took that money and gambled in a little bit different way and joined the Pacific Stock Exchange. And before the smoke cleared, he sold his business for $531 million to Goldman Sachs. That was a lot of money back in 1999.
Yeah, it meant a little bit then.
Yeah, it kind of adds up today. And he wound up staying connected with the gambling world and went back and then came up with this concept that we would do something, along with Bill Benter, that we would do something for the problem gambler. And Munchkin and I fumbled around with this for about 6 months, and we weren't getting very far. We had a company that would do Jiffy ones for you, and it wasn't going anywhere. And we told him, so he turned around and hired some white shoe attorney firm, and they did all of it, and he paid for every dime of that. And in having our conversation with Ed Thorp prior to doing the welcoming address on Zoom, we asked him what he thought about having the Ed Thorp Lifetime Achievement Award for Blackjack. And he was all for it. And we managed to call 13 existing members in the Blackjack Hall of Fame, and he was unanimously selected to become a member of the Blackjack Hall of Fame and receive the first occasional Ed Thorp Lifetime Achievement Award for Blackjack.
Yeah, I want to say that one of the highlights of the ball for me is for the last 10 years, Ed Thorp has been coming to the ball. And this year, he just turned 90, and he still looks fantastic. And but he said if he gets COVID, he told me he figured he had an 18% chance of dying. So he just didn't want to take that risk. So I recorded a video of him, who had a little bit of a welcoming speech to everybody to the ball, which we played at the beginning. And hopefully he'll be able to come next year.
And Ed Thorp, being Ed Thorp, he didn't just look it up or figure it out. He wrote a paper on it. And he sent that to Munskin and I, and he even broke it down that he had a 50 times greater chance of dying than one of the average attendees at the ball who was in his 20s. And so he had it broken down. He said it just wasn't worth the risk right now for him to come, but maybe next year if the pandemic is really arrested.
All right. One of the features of the ball is the test for the world's greatest blackjack player. This consists of 21 questions that in round numbers are impossible. And it wasn't nearly as good this year as it was the last several, because they used to let me submit 3 or 4 or 6 questions, and they didn't let me do it this year, so they weren't as good. But be that as it may, we had interesting questions. Now, Darryl Purpose, which is the reason he's invited here today, ended up winning that competition, or was actually he qualified in that competition and won a subsequent competition. So Darryl, which was your favorite question among the 21, or which one was most interesting?
Oh gosh, I guess I enjoyed the question about how much $1 million in cash weighs, and I nailed that.
He's not saying he's carried $1 million in cash before. He's just saying he nailed the question. No, I was, Darryl and I were at the same table, and one of the other people at the table said something to him, and Darryl, you said you thought if you could get to the final table that you would be a favorite, but you could never pass the test.
Yeah, these damn questions that Max comes up with, they really are impossible. And, how much does $1 million weigh? That was one of the easy ones, right? So they're very hard. So I have a system where if I don't know, I don't guess at Max's questions. And I have a system of randomizing my answer. And I always knew that one year my random guesses would come out well. And this was my year.
What was so amazing, I didn't think they were that tough. We have 7 true false, 7 multiple guess, and 7 fill in the blanks. And our top score was 11. Was it 11? That's what you got, wasn't it? Maybe 12. We had one person at 12, maybe?
Actually, wasn't there one person got 13, but they had left something blank, so they were disqualified?
They tore up their card. Yeah, you can't leave them blank. And one year they left some blank, and somebody made an advantage play, and a friend of theirs got a hold of the card, and they just filled in the blanks and scratched some out. So we have a rule that any answer that's been changed or marked up or just left blank, the test is invalid. So somebody was a little bit sour. Oh, Anthony Curtis got the highest score. That's right. Anthony Curtis came in with the highest score and happened to be the first one out at the final table, too, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise that Anthony got the highest score.
No, it never is. That's why I have him go off so high on the Calcutta, because he's just so good. He knows so much about everything. It's hard to stump him a lot.
If there are questions about in the gambling world.
Right.
Actually, one of the questions that I really liked was the question about 6 to 5 blackjack. That one of the big objections of civilians to 6 to 5, they hate the fact that you can't take even money. So the question was, what would it cost the casino to give even money on blackjack on a 6-5 game. Like, what would it cost them if they? Well, I think it was worded the other way. Like, how much does the player's EV change if they were to get even money? And it was a multiple choice question. But anyway, because the answer was 0.06, so it was like, ridiculously, it would cost them nothing to allow that.
It's 6 cents on $100 wager, and it's a 1.5% disadvantage game, and anybody plays at least 0.5% worse than that. So House is already making $2 for every $100, probably $3 with some of those players, and they don't want to give up the 6 cents, which is just nonsense because players complain about that, and I think they ought to offer it all the time. So even money on blackjack, you bet. Oh, the players would think that's just great news, and it doesn't cost them anything, but they won't do it. And my favorite question didn't have a lot to do with blackjack, but in the 1950s, Vegas called itself the Up and Atom City, and casinos invited guests to come out and see live nukes going off night and day. It was about 75 miles out of town, and there was a beauty pageant to name a maiden to represent the festivities. What did the annual pageant winner earn? Either Miss Atom Bombshell, the Atomic Showgirl, Miss Atomic Bomb, Miss American Freedom, Miss Nevada Freedom, and Miss Up and Atom. And the right answer was Miss Atomic Bomb. And I showed some pictures, and it was just astounding what Vegas used to do. Benny Binion sent them out from his club. We had some of the postcards, and we had pictures of that, and the Pioneer sent them out. And people would go out, including my wife, when she was a kid, they would take them out and park their cars like going to the drive-in and watch the nukes go off. And just only in Las Vegas would they market live nukes, and they set off 100 above-ground nukes outside of Nevada up until 1957, and you got to go see them. And I felt the nukes up until 1989 or so. 1990, they set off underground nukes, but you actually got to go watch the nukes go off with your family and friends. And the advertising said fun for the entire family. And bring them all, let the kids watch the nukes go off. Isn't that great?
By the way, I thought it was a great addition to have all these huge monitors in the room where we could put pictures of things as part of the questions. We never had that ability before in the past.
No, they have just a terrific world-class audiovisual system down there where they did all sorts of things and played certain tunes during the questions. I won't mention because that's probably a little bit of copyright infringement with what went on, but they were doing some really remarkable things and playing entry music when Munchkin and I would stand up and talk, or the winners were there, and these guys were just, you could tell they were world-class audiovisual people from out on the strip and whatnot. And it turned out really, really well with that.
One of my favorite parts was the Ruvo Center itself. It's at Bonneville and I guess Grand Central.
I was going to say, I think it's called Grand Central. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just west of downtown. It is a very strange exterior, and of things going all over the place, and really shaped, and it's a medical center. And so we're wondering, how do they have that kind of exterior where the inside are doctors' offices? And so when I got there, I found out that the weird part of it is the exterior of the ballroom, which is where we had the party. So in the ballroom, you saw the inside of those weird shapes. And to the side, in a different area, you have a normal building for doctors' offices. But did not when I drove by there hundreds of times, wondering how in the hell did they turn that into a medical office building? It made no sense to me. And so now I know the answer.
Right. And Frank Gehry designed that building, and they put that there as a fundraising mechanism for the Keep Memory Alive Foundation. And they make lots and lots of millions of dollars off of that room that goes toward treating people with a variety of mental deficiencies, but primarily things with loss of memory. And it's Lewy body syndrome, Alzheimer's, senior dementia, Parkinson's, and a variety of other things. And they're generally regarded as one of the premier brain centers on Earth. They're really good.
So after everybody took the test, and Anthony got 12 right, and a couple guys got 11 right, and a bunch of people got 10 right. And I thought I was in that group, but apparently I only got 9. So the final table, or people who try for the 4 spaces at the final table, there's going to be 6 people. So they had to break down the bunch of people. It turned out there were 4 of them trying for 2 spots. And so what they tried to do was Richard had them get a state with an Indian casino in it. And so they would go, somebody say California, somebody would say New York, and they would keep going until they repeated one or it didn't have a state. So had I been up there, I would have kept Nevada in my back pocket, because I'm pretty sure there's one of them near Laughlin, the Avi Casino, but which is relatively unknown. So I would not have done that in the first 3 or 4 rounds, but I didn't get up there, so it's moot. And if I ever do get up there, they'll have a different tiebreaker question. So,
well, Bob, as you're bringing that one up, I also looked up, and the Virgin Casinos here in town, Virgin Casino, that's owned by the Mohegan Sun, and they're licensed in Nevada.
And the Palms is owned by what's it called?
Is it
Yamaha, the Manuel used to be called San Manuel.
Right, San Manuel. So there's pretty good presence for Native American gaming. Most people don't know that. Now, what I found interesting. Go ahead,
I would
Bob.
not consider them gaming, Indian gaming, because they're subject to the same rules as the other casinos are in Las Vegas. In every other state, Indian gaming kind of makes up their own rules. So we can argue whether or not that's considered an Indian casino or not.
Well, Bob's being a nitpicker, but the problem is at the Blackjack Ball, there's a room full of 150 other nitpickers too, so you've got to be right. So you're probably right, Bob. If I use those,
I guarantee that that topic would have, if those were the only native in Nevada, that absolutely would get argued about, for hours at some of the tables there.
Yep.
But Avi would qualify in any case. So
it would.
Yeah.
So that's not it. All right. So now we have our 6.
So I was just going to say, you have to be so careful writing these questions, because the math heads that are in that room and the people that live by 0.1%, they know the answers to these things, and it's particularly when they're math questions, and you better have them right. That's why we have Grosjean help us out a little bit, and of course Munchkin, who's a mathematician in his own right.
No, I am not. God, no. I'm not a mathematician.
Well, compared to me. Yeah.
They had one question where it was multiple guess, and the first 4 overlapped. It was how much was made at the average blackjack table. Maybe it was on the strip. And one of the choices was less than 500,000. Another choice was less than 600,000. Another choice was less than 700,000. So obviously, if it's C for 700,000, the other 2 have to also be. So the last one was over $1 million. So stupid Bob Dancer and his big mouth says, Munchkin, these are not mutually exclusive. He had no choice but to say, maybe that's a hint. And I'm going, shit. I just told everybody the answer. But
well, no. But there was one of the choices was under 900,000, which that could have been the answer.
But if that is true, if you also put under 500,000, that would be a correct answer.
No, it wouldn't. What if it's 899,000?
Okay, then the other way around. If you put...
No, there are 2 possible answers: under 900 or over $1 million,
or less than 500.
No, but then A, B, C, D, and E would all be correct.
Right, you're right. I was just reading it again. Okay, you're right. There were two possible answers. Munchkin and I went around with this one for it. We put it on there, decided to do it. So
Okay, so now you have a skills contest, and we are going to get to that as soon as we have a commercial break.
okay, as we do, we might want to talk about the tiebreaker a little bit more because some people choke's an ugly word, but some people just choked. They weren't listening because someone had said Arizona and they repeated Arizona after going through just five people. And there were 38 different casinos they could have or states they could have named, and some people just repeated what they'd already heard, and it got winnowed down very quickly. But
well, it wouldn't be the first choke in this competition, which
no.
We'll get to right after the commercials.
Okay.
The South Point has more than 10,000 games, returning at least 99%. This is more such games than anyone else has. To celebrate the upcoming South Point 400 NASCAR event, the October promotion is logo merchandise you get by earning 1,800 points weekly on any machine Monday through Thursday. Limit one per player. Must pick up your own gift. The gift for October 10th to 13th is a man or woman's polo shirt. 17th to 20th is a folding chair. 24th to 27th is a quarter zipper pullover. If you earn and pick up all four gifts, you receive $100 in free play, which will be on your card midnight to midnight, Sunday, October 30th, and Monday, October 31st.
If you're serious about card counting, the Blackjack Apprenticeship membership is a great way to learn, train, network, and get the resources you need to succeed. We've had quite a few guests on Gambling with an Edge who exclusively trained and got their start through Blackjack Apprenticeship. Check out their website at blackjackapprenticeship.com. They have member forums, training software, and guides to help you learn. There is one more Blackjack boot camp in 2022. So there are some spaces still left open. So if you are interested in the Blackjack boot camp, you can find out more at blackjackapprenticeship.com.
Videopoker.com is the best place to play lots of games. If you sign up for the gold membership, $8.95 a month or $79.95 a year, this allows you to get correction on most of the games. The game of the week is Super Triple Play Jackpots, and it's a game for those who wish to gamble. It requires 7 coins per line. First extra coin bumps up all values for the quads. The second extra coin provides you with a wheel spin whenever you end up with any of these 4-of-a-kinds. Since these 4-of-a-kinds only come up around every 420 hands or so, it's a heaven or hell experience. If you don't get many quads today, you will not like this game. If you do, you will. If you come across such a game, Super Triple Play Jackpot, and don't know how to compute the return, you can enter it into regular video poker software, and it'll come out to be 130% or so. You then take that number, multiply by 5, and divide by 7, and that will give you the actual return.
If you're interested in getting an edge at sports betting, then unabated.com is a great resource for you. Founded by frequent Gambling with an Edge guests Captain Jack and Rufus Peabody, unabated.com is designed for both new and experienced sports bettors. Their real-time odds screen, tools, and calculators take a lot of the guesswork out of trying to quantify your edge. There is also plenty of free education and instruction to help you along your journey to become a sharper sports bettor. You can currently take advantage of a 7-day free trial to decide if the premium membership at unabated.com is right for you.
All right, before we get into the final table, Max, did you find anything interesting about the play-in to get those last few seats at the table?
Well, certainly with the play-in, they choked. Richard had said before that people can choke in the past, and they did. All they had to do was list one of 38 states that has some form of Native American gaming, and they got through one round of 5 or 6 guys, and they started repeating the names. And Arizona was the first one that was said twice, And we lost a Blackjack Hall of Famer, a very smart guy. Don Schlesinger said he just didn't hear it because he was thinking about what places it would be. And there are so many out there, but it didn't last very long, did it, Munchkin?
No. As you say, I think we only went through, maybe six people before we had eliminated 2, and 6, 7. I don't remember exactly, but and then we got to the final table.
I was hoping that they would get through all of those 38, because then the next tiebreaker was you had to make up words from anagrams out of blackjack. And there's 42 of those that are legal Scrabble names. And I was hoping they'd have to do that. I thought it'd be very funny, but we didn't even get close. We'll never use those. But
that would have been a nightmare to keep track of, though.
Yeah. You can mark them off. I had it set up. But anyway, we'll see. One year we'll get to that.
So one of the things that was really, really nice this year is the final table. You know, it's always on a blackjack table and people are crowded around it and they just can't see what's going on. And here we had the blackjack table up on the stage and we had an overhead camera with a guy who could pan and tilt and zoom. And so people in the audience, there were huge monitors and they could see exactly what was going on. So that was really nice.
And we had 180 people and they could all watch the show on these giant monitors. It was just outstanding. And then we got into the finals competition, which Richard ran, and he can tell you all about.
Yeah. Well, so the first
won it.
Yeah. I was just getting to you, Darryl, because you've been very quiet. Feel free to jump in, you know. But anyway, so the first competition was estimating the number of cards in the discard rack. You want to take it from there, Darryl?
Oh, you want us to give the play-by-play of the whole event?
Well, or just what? I mean, we're going to talk about each of the competitions, and
what I would say about it is just that you're standing up there, and it's kind of just a game, and it's kind of fun. But we're really testing real blackjack skills, and I found myself, wow, I'm in a room, of 200 of the best blackjack players, the best gamblers in the world in tuxedos. And I'm competing for the best blackjack player in the world. That's not completely serious, but it's fun. And there's friends and colleagues and legends out there. Some of them are all 3 of those things actually. And you've got Frank Schipani out there, and you got Ed Thorp there with the video message, and James Grosjean, and so many, and then all these young guys, who are in the casinos a lot, and they're really skilled. They're programmers and they know what to do in the casino, and it's so it was just kind of a big deal. I'm just trying to paint a little picture of the drama and the pressure on everybody at that finals table. And it turned out that that's what happened. A lot of people, nice people, they were all nice people at the table, and all the people involved, all the people at the event, I thought were really special, nice people and very talented people. But at the finals table, there was just a lot of pressure and people just choked. And because we had an elimination style, people just kind of dropped off one by one by one, including the first one you asked me about, Anthony Curtis, who, is the last guy you would think would choke, but, you asked us how many cards are there, and I think it was about 2 decks, right? And Anthony was off by about 40 cards, and so he was gone. One down. It was like Survivor, right? Or I've never watched it.
Yeah,
but isn't
yeah. Did you have any when you got up there and one of the people at that final table was Anthony Curtis? He's been to the final table how many times, Max? 7, 8?
Yeah, 7, 8 now.
I mean, did that cross your mind, or you were just like, it's game time, I'm focused?
Yeah, I was very focused, and I wasn't worried about Anthony. He does really well on the test. That's why he's at so many finals tables, right? I knew that, and I will not get to the finals table very much, but I knew that if I did get to the finals table, I would be able to hold my own.
Right. So
so
he choked and he was gone. Go ahead, Bob.
The next text, Richard places a black 6 at the bottom of a single deck of cards. Doesn't matter if it was shuffled or not. He tells the people they get to cut one card. They get to cut the card at least 9. And then he's going to deal 1 to each player. And he else they can do two positions, 3, 4, 5, however many they want, presumably less than 14. And they want to get that 6 to the dealer's bottom card. And how close do they get? And so they go through. The first guy was 1 away. There's a guy named Stan Podolak.
No, one guy. Oh, you mean the first guy at the table?
Yeah. And
I mean,
why don't we let Darryl talk about this?
I mean, we can go faster than that. We can just say that everybody was within 2 cards, and everybody was 1 card away. I think we had 1 person at 0, but then 2 of us, me and 1 other player, were 2 cards away. So it was between the 2 of us. I almost got out of the competition right there. It was between the 2 of us. We had to have a playoff.
Well, wait, it was more dramatic than that, because after you cut, I ask, how many hands do you want me to deal? And you said 4 or 5. And I said, yes, 4 or 5.
I was sure that's the correct answer, 4 or 5.
Yeah, right.
And I was right. It was the correct answer, but I picked the wrong one. I picked 5 and it was 4. So I was 2 cards off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
So you had to play off. You had to cut again with the...
Right. I thought everybody did really well on that element of the...
yes.
I thought, somebody's going to be off by... Somebody's not going to even know what we're talking about here. I haven't played that move in 25 years, and I just thought somebody would be up there and not even know what you're talking about, really, and just be off by 3 or 4 or 5. But nobody was that. Everybody did really well. And I lucked out with the playoff, and we moved on.
The next question is one they don't usually use at the Blackjack Ball. All the other ones are regulars in the final table, but this one was, how well do you know hole card strategy? So they tell you...
Well, there was a setup to that. And that is, there are these people that I would call internet blackjack experts who will say things on the internet like, oh, well, if you see the dealer's hole card, what to do with the information is obvious. And so this was a test to see how obvious it really is. So it was I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
Well, go ahead. The first one was, the dealer has 17 and you have a pair of 9s. What do you do?
Actually, no, that's not right. The first one was, you have a pair of 3s and the dealer has a 5-3. And this is a double after split game, a single deck.
Hits off 17.
It hits off 17. Resplit aces. Yeah, not that those are relevant, but so that was the first one. And now, Darryl, you played a lot of hole cards, but mostly it was like...
A long time ago. I looked at a chart a long, long time. But when I did look at the charts back in my 20s, I studied them, so I did kind of know them. But everyone got that first one right. But the interesting thing to me is the second one, which was 2 9s. You've got 2 9s, and the dealer has a hard 17. And what do you do with those 2 9s? And the great thing is I just released a Blackjack song, a little plug here, but called Eddie and Jules. And in the song, there's the lyric. In the song, our heroes start to play hole cards, and there's the lyric, know the house has 17, know what 18 is. There's a lyric in my song, and there it was. You've got 18, dealer has 17. You want to split those 9s? No, don't split those 9s. But somebody did. I forget who it was, but somebody did say split the 9.
Yeah, it's hard to get more, when you have 18 and they have 17, it's hard to get more than a 100% edge, So yeah, we lost another at that point.
We lost WRX.
Yeah.
The
wasn't WRX. That one, WRX stayed and he played in the final championship against Darryl. The third, that was that stand that went out?
that would
No.
have been Vagabond.
Vagabond went out. Right. Oh, then we got to memorization.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. And so for this, we spread a single deck across the layout, and the players are given 30 seconds to memorize as many cards as they can. And they all have their own deck of cards so that, okay, card number 1, everybody puts out face down their card. And go ahead, Darryl.
Well, as I said, one guy, I guess, got it wrong on the first time, which was so anticlimactic because it would have been a very fun thing if it had gone many ways. I memorized I think I had 12 or 13 cards, but it's elimination game, so really you got to play low variance, and you really want to memorize the first few especially. But I was hoping it would be very dramatic, and we'd get to the 4th, 5th card, 6th card, 7th card, and everybody would have it. But I don't know who it was, but the first card
was Dan Podolak.
Yeah, the first card was the King of Clubs, and one guy put out the King of Spades, and it was over. He was out.
So then it was down to just you and WRX.
Yeah, here I am. I haven't been at the finals table in a while, but I always thought if I got there, I could do pretty good. But I got in there, and everybody's so nice, and it's it's such a nice. It was quite an upgrade at the ball this year. I thought the whole thing was so special with everybody in a tuxedo, 180 people. We were bigger than we used to be, and it just seemed like most everybody was there, and the food was really good. But and here we are, here I'm at the finals table, and it just happened so fast. It was like you get to the finals table, 6 people out, choke, out, and all of a sudden I'm standing there with one other guy, and they say, the finals for the championship, we're going to count down a deck. I'm like, what?
Keeping in mind, a lot of people don't know, at one time, Darryl was the fastest counter on the planet. He could run down 6 decks in what, a minute and 12 seconds? You could count 6 decks? What was your time?
It's in that song I'm talking about, Eddie and Jules. Eddie counted 6 decks in a minute 19. Now, I'm not really Eddie in the song, but at that moment, I was remembering that I counted 6 decks in a minute 19. But I've counted a single deck. I've gotten 8 seconds on a single deck. Now, it's tricky how you can do that because mostly you can't even fan a single deck in 8 seconds, right? So what you have to do is towards the end, you just have to scan the last 15 or 20 cards and take a picture of it in your head and then say, stop. And now you're counting the cards that you've just scanned as the person is saying, okay, it's 8 seconds. What's the count? And you're like, it's -1.
A lot to do in your mind under pressure with everybody watching.
We had back in the day, we had a lot of contests among ourselves. We bet a lot of money on who could count a deck down fast. And I won a lot. I won a lot of those. And so I was really, to hear that the finals was going to be about counting down a deck. I just thought, oh, okay.
So you thought you had it at that point?
I thought I had it, and I just needed to make sure not to choke, not to get it wrong. That would have been embarrassing. Actually, at that point for me, sort of known as one of the fastest, or I've been called the fastest card counter. At that point, I had a lot to lose.
I'm sitting in the sound video booth with the operator, showing him what to zoom in on, and I said, Darryl's taking a long time for him. He's fast. And you were pretty careful. You were watching those cards, and you were counting each card individually, almost. But you were spreading them, but you weren't. It wasn't like just zip, bang, slap it on the table.
No, I was surprised that WRX actually got the count right. I was expecting him. I thought it was just about really getting it right, and I kind of knew I'd be faster than most people.
I don't know if you were looking, but if you were, you could see that you were clearly pretty far ahead of him in the fanning.
I saw that, and I slowed down.
Yeah.
At that point.
Had against
But
all
I
odds,
have to
I've
say
been-
this.
No, someday I'll get to say that.
I'm sorry. What did you say, Bob?
Had I, at against all odds, had I been against Darryl in this position, as soon as you said go, Richard, I would have slammed the deck down and said the count is 0 on the 2 cards removed, which would have been a decent shot at being correct and a much better chance of winning than actually counting down the deck.
Yeah, next time let's take 3 cards out.
To say
Yeah,
minus,
you're right. It should be 3 cards.
yeah.
What did
Didn't your
Max
best
say?
bet to say -1 or +1 because you've only got 3 neutral cards and you got 5 of each of the other? If you're just going to slam the deck down, you should guess -1 or +1.
Yeah. Well, don't give Bob extra help, Max.
Okay. All right.
I know what I was going to say is, so we had an indoor area and an outdoor area. And outside in the gardens, there were open bars and dessert stations out there. And we did that because a number of people said, there are going to be a lot of guests here, and they may be bored by the whole, competition and all of that stuff. And so we thought, okay, well, if they don't want to watch and listen, that's fine. They can, head outside, and the weather's beautiful, and there's bars out there and all that. Almost nobody went outside. So we had kind of streamlined the whole competition to make it faster because we were worried about people, the guests not being interested. But almost everybody stayed inside to watch.
They did during that competition, but one thing we haven't mentioned as a prelude to coming indoors at 7:30, we had an hour and a half cocktails and past hors d'oeuvres. And Munchman, you might want to tell them a little bit about Jason England. He was putting on exhibitions with his magic, showing how casinos cheated and players cheated casinos, and it's pretty remarkable. But let Munchkin tell the story.
Yeah, so we had a blackjack table outside in the gardens, and a big thank you to Jason England for doing this. And yeah, he was there demonstrating different cheating devices that casinos have used and others that players have used, and, dealing seconds and showing various sleight of hand moves. He brought, he has a collection of old newspapers that were mounted on easels. There was one about a challenge with Ed Thorp and against the casinos, and there were headlines of when casinos were caught cheating and things like that. So yeah, he performed. People loved it, crowded around the table, and then they'd see everything. They'd move on. More people would come, and then after the competition, he went up on the stage and was able to, more people were able to go up there and watch him do stuff. And he brought a little giveaway, which is a reprint of a catalog of a company that would sell cheating devices from 1931. And anybody who wanted a copy of that old catalog, he would give them one. So a big thank you to Jason England.
And another thank you, I forgot to thank Jason, and I forgot to thank Mark Billings, who he ordered and paid for, and we designed some silver anniversary Blackjack Ball playing cards, and every person that came got a commemorative deck of the silver anniversary Blackjack Ball in a special deck of cards they got to take home. And Darryl still has his with him.
Yeah, you guys can't see that. So, Darryl, you win this giant trophy bottle of champagne, and for some reason, Don actually made 2 of these. I don't know why. And I understand you have them both. What are you going to do with those?
Well, am I supposed to have them both, or is somebody else supposed to?
Actually, I think one of them is supposed to go to Max.
No.
Well, let's do that then.
No, they're going to hand paint one for me, but they didn't get it done in time, so they just sent 2 of the same bottle. But it looks silly if it says I'm the world champion at the silver anniversary when you were. So no, you're supposed to have those, so you can keep one in your summer house, and
you can give one to me.
Let's just say, as long as we're doing thanks, like you guys were just before this question, Max Rubin, who has been putting this thing on for 25 years, and we meet each other in the casino sometimes as players, and we know each other. But this has provided us with a way to get together, even if it's just once a year, for 25 years and know each other and learn a little bit more about each other as people. And I have really appreciated that. And then, Munchkin's work lately has been really great. But, Max has been doing this for a long time, and we owe him a great deal of thanks for what he's done here for us to make a community out of it.
Yeah, pleasure's been mine. I get to be around people that are much smarter than me, and it's just been a labor of love. It's just being able to provide a safe environment so all the people that are out there playing can all get together and be with each other in one place and know that they're safe. It's just worked out that way, and it's been pretty successful. Yeah, this was a nice culmination of all those this year, I thought.
So what are these bottles worth?
A lot. They cost a lot. I don't know what you can sell them for, but I know they cost a lot.
What's a lot?
Thousands.
1,000?
Thousands.
Thousands?
Yeah. Yeah. So now, whether you can sell them or not, well, we have one person, we just won't use any names, just call him Pete the Grinder, that he won. We had a bottle twice as big as the bottle you got, but they're too hard to ship, and they can't engrave on them as nicely or put the artwork on it like yours has. And we said, let's go a smaller one. It's the same width, but it's just much taller. And the first words he said when he came into my house was, "Somebody want to buy this from me?" He just wanted the money for it. Yep. We have people like that in the blackjack world, but I don't know what he did with it. He probably sold the champagne by the glass at a park or something. I'm not sure, but I don't know what he did with it. But
Anthony Curtis won one and waited a year to open it and share it at a Blackjack Ball after party, and it had already gone flat.
Yep.
So it was in a room that was not pressure controlled, and so Darryl, don't wait too long to figure out what you're going to do with it.
I wouldn't drink. If it were me, I wouldn't drink it anyway. I'm more interested in the bottle than the champagne.
I mean, it really depends on how much it's worth. Like, is it worth 2,000 or 50,000?
It's not worth it. It's just the value of the bottle itself. As a matter of fact, the company has done one that they've assessed a value on it of something close to 300,000, but the bottle is maybe 6 feet tall and holds 30 gallons. It's just
also, Darryl, when he says it might be worth a few thousand, that's if you're paying for it in a nightclub. You know what I mean? Like
just a giant magnum that they sell could cost that. Yeah. But these special bottles that are engraved and have all the rest of the stuff, they're worth a lot, but only to the person who has them generally. Who's going to buy it? I mean, it's more something to put on your trophy case somewhere, somehow. But it's a nice.
Where's my Gross Gene cup?
That's it.
It's no cup. It's the trophy. Gross Gene Trophy now. It's not the cup. We had the Munchkin cup for second place.
I got one of those.
Hey, I'll trade you a trophy for a bottle. How's that?
I thought I might have a Gross Gene cup and a Munchkin cup. Put it right on the shelf, right next to each other.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think Munchkin wants one of your bottles.
Max and Darryl,
the ladies like the red better, the rosé.
At the end of our show, we have a recommended. So Richard, do you have a recommended?
Yeah, my recommended is, for 20 years or something, I've had 4 mobile phones with Verizon, and we ended up with a 5th line, but it's not part of my package. And so I found this company called Mint Mobile. Now, my Verizon lines cost me $50 each a month. This Mint Mobile is $15. in and there's no taxes or anything. It's $15 a month. And so I've been testing it out for the last couple of months, and it works every bit as good as the Verizon lines. And so I'm going to end up switching all my phones over. I think that Mint is on the T-Mobile network, but I'm not sure. So anyway, if you're interested in saving money on your, because I just hate, you know, I'm not a big fan of Verizon, so I'm happy that I'm going to be able to get rid of them. So you might check it out, Mint Mobile.
My recommended today is Walter Tevis science fiction books. Now, Walter Tevis wrote 3 books related to games or gambling: The Hustler, The Color of Money, and The Queen's Gambit, all of which have been made into successful movies. He also wrote 3 science fiction books. Now, I've read 2 of them. First one I read is The Man Who Fell to Earth. This has also been made into a movie and a TV series. But today I'm talking about the original novel, which is different than either of the adaptations. An alien lands on Earth with the purpose of sending enough stuff back to his home planet to save it. Since his planet's civilization is more advanced than Earth's, he's able to introduce a lot of new things to the Earth, and he becomes rich from doing so. Eventually, politics gets involved. The second Walter Tevis science fiction book I've recently read is called Mockingbird. It takes place several centuries in the future, where everyone survives by taking drugs and living in controlled circumstances, and the Earth is on its last generation of people. A few people break away from this, and this story is mainly about those people. Darryl Purpose, do you have a
Well,
recommendation?
sure. I have to tell you to go get the song I just released. It's the most Blackjack song ever written, perhaps, called Eddie and Jules. You can find it wherever you find music, Spotify, iTunes, and such. But what I'd really like to tell you about is this book called Breath that I have read recently twice. And it's a book about the history of the science of breathing and how to make yourself a lot more healthy and happy by breathing correctly. It's called Breath.
Very good.
Who would have thought you would need to learn how to breathe?
Who would have thought? Exactly.
Is it like a meditation kind of book, or
It's about all things. It does have some breathing exercises, and it is a lot about breathing through your nose and how incredible that is in terms of an effect on your health. But it's also about the history of all that and what they've missed and what they haven't missed and what the state of the science is right now. And it's got some real good ideas for being healthy.
Yeah, I would think breathing's important to all of us, but to a singer, even more so. So,
Yes.
all right. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Darryl.
Okay. Well, I had one thing I would recommend, and if you want to learn a lot about blackjack and what's going on, and maybe even get a leg up on the next Blackjack Ball, blackjackreview.com. And it's got everything about blackjack history, all the strategies, everything you can find. And it's got all the winners of the Blackjack Balls. It's got all the members of the Blackjack Hall of Fame. It's got lots of really good stuff. And that's Michael Dalton's, isn't it, Munchkin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really done well. And he's going to be helping us with the Blackjack Hall of Fame with the photos and our website and that sort of thing. But blackjackreview.com is a great site to go to learn about blackjack. And if you're going to learn the game, learn all the free stuff you can. And the Colin Jones will tell you that too with Blackjack Apprentice. Before you sign on to his, go learn everything you can that's free and then pay him the fee to join. And then he'll get you ready to go out there and actually play for money. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Darryl.
Yes.
Thank you, Richard. Go out and hit lots of royal flushes, everybody. Good day.
Okay, see ya.